I'm ready.
We're rolling.
We are rolling, right. Episode 22, is it?
Episode 22.
Yeah. Right.
Oh,
No stopping us now, is it?
no stopping us. We're not even going to do formal intros anymore. I've decided. I've been listening to podcasts, and people don't do formal intros.
Do they really?
No, they don't. A lot of times they don't. So this is actually an intro.
This is our intro.
This is it.
This is it.
I'm wearing one of these t-shirts. This is your t-shirt.
That's my t-shirt because he couldn't be bothered to take his cold dip with his cold dip buddies.
Oh, here we go. We're getting
Didn't
nasty.
have an invite again, see.
Oh, we're getting
Anyway.
nasty. We're getting nasty. You'd have to put one of them black bars over your mouth, but they're being horrible. So, we're back.
Yeah, back in the iron
For
dryer.
yet another episode.
Sorry, I'm overdoing it. See, this new intro thing,
Yeah,
I can't do it.
it's free throwing you.
It's
Not throwing me, I'm ready. I'm listening to lots of podcasts.
I only listen to one, but
Well,
it's the one we do.
let's not get the numbers up. No, but we are joined for episode 22 by Iwan Williams.
All right, boys.
Hello.
Oh, look at that. He was proper valyish. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Thought I'd try and fit in.
Yeah, in Merthyr, yeah.
Many have tried.
Yes,
really?
and yes. Yeah, so not originally from Cardiff, though, are you?
No.
We just had a conversation off camera. From
Barnstable.
Barnstable, that's right.
Yeah.
Barnstable.
Barnstable in North Devon, if you know it.
I've heard of it. I've never been to Barnstable, but I
Hmm.
have been to Devon quite a lot.
It's very nice.
It is nice. I like Devon. I went last year. I went to Axminster.
Ooh, oh, yeah, I remember you saying.
And like Lyme Regis. and
Lovely.
all-
South.
all that type of thing.
Down south.
Taunton's not Devon, is it?
Taunton, Somerset.
Somerset,
See,
Yeah.
I'm not good with the
I went to Taunton
counties.
the other day. Anyway,
I drive a lorry.
Taunton's in Somerset.
Didn't see my invite.
Somerset.
Somerset, mate.
No.
Anyway, enough of the bickering,
Right,
which you
yes.
can get extra clips of if you subscribe to Patreon,
Which we haven't got.
Which we haven't got. So Ewan, you are a men's health and performance coach. And I suppose whilst you have a name, which we've said, which is Ewan, you're also known by a moniker, I suppose, of the modern man.
Uh-huh.
I suppose I think the best place to start is probably that modern man. What does the modern man mean in terms of? It's okay, George. You crack on, son.
Sorry.
It's really meaningful conversation. You're in your fucking round.
I'm sorry.
Checking the bits. Checking the pics.
Anyway, so what does the modern man kind of philosophy mean, I suppose?
Great question. So, I'm not the modern man.
Okay.
It's a program pretty much that I run, but it's also like a way of being.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the kind of philosophy that I would put towards or I would explain the modern man by would be a man who knows himself, lives with integrity and honesty.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
That's you out.
Cheers, then.
No. And I suppose kind of when you look at where you are now compared to where you've been, it's we kind of, as we always say, we do have a cheat sheet. We're not going to lie and say we know the ins and outs of absolutely everything. But you were very honest in kind of raising the fact that when you were a little younger, things weren't as hunky-dory, things weren't as clear-cut, and that you did have some quite troubling kind of moments. Can you kind of go into that in any depth, and kind of how that kind of that moment of, right, okay, something's not quite right here, I need to start doing something to change that.
Yeah, so kind of like almost like the origin story of
why
it came about, why the Modern Man came about. Yeah, so I was always like a bit of a sporty kid in school, trying to be cool, trying to fit in. But there was always like this underlying, which I wasn't aware at the time, had no idea what it was, like this anxiety, always there. And at first I thought it was normal, and it would just like magically disappear and go away if I just kept doing what I was doing. As we know, it doesn't just go away unless you address it or do something about it. And so I just kept doing what I was doing. And then in my like late teens, started dabbling into a bit of drugs, alcohol, smoking a bit of weed, and had a bit of a laugh with it. But at the same time, it then, I say probably, it did turn into a bit of a, almost like a dependency to cover up this anxiety that was always there. And then that turned into like every weekend, a couple times a week, 3 times a week in my late teens now, like 18, 19, until it all came to a head. My body was like, my nervous system was like, you can't fucking avoid this anymore. And it all came to a head at Boardmasters Festival, if you heard of it. Down in Cornwall. Nice place in Newquay. Yes. I mean, Newquay's not the nicest of places, but Cornwall is.
High praise from someone from Devon.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Because Devon got some lovely beaches.
Devon, yeah. Right near where I live, to be fair. Although the Cornish definitely get their jam and cream the wrong way round on a scone.
Oh, gosh. Oh, dear. Well, I'm going to say I don't really put cream on. I just put butter, a lot of butter and a lot of jam. But if I was, I'd have to put the cream on the bottom, jam on the top.
A good man, Jill.
Oh,
good man.
That's right.
Love that. I bet you, Mark.
You would.
Well, I cut mine in half, and I have jam and cream on both. I don't eat it as a combined.
Oh no, I'm the same.
No, the jam goes on top.
Yeah,
on top.
Yeah.
Good.
Anyway,
you boys have got it.
Take that dinner with John. take that dinner with John. And I'll reply into us.
Anyway, we've gone on a tangent.
That happens a lot.
Which is fine.
So Boardmasters
so all came to a bit of a head. Cocktail of drugs, alcohol, all sorts, lack of sleep. And one evening, everyone had come back to our tent, having a bit of fun. My mate, who loved smoking weed, lit one up, and we shared it. And then about half an hour later, my whole body just went into this weird panic. Like I felt my whole feet tingling. Had no idea what it was at the time. Feet tingling, and it slowly, what felt like over, I don't know, hours, just started coming up my body from my feet to my head. And then when it got to my head, I was like, lads, I can't fucking breathe it. I'm going to die.
Oh, Christ.
And they were like, shut up, you'll be fine.
Yeah, as they normally do.
As, 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
Lads who are, pretty unaware of mental health and panic attacks and things like that, if you've never experienced it. Generally are. And it just got worse and worse and worse. And so I took myself to the medical tent, because I was like, I think I'm dying, guys. Can you help me out?
Yeah.
Basically, it's just real paranoia, real panic, and it was a weird time. I can remember it so vividly. And then I started, like hallucinating, having like auditory hallucinations, visual as well, or in my mind's eye. And then I remember leaving the med tent because the guys were like, right, can you pretty much fuck off?
Yeah.
Because they were pissed off and they just wanted to go to sleep.
Yeah, because I was going to ask kind of 2 points really. Was the first I'll circle back to.
Yeah.
They to remind me to circle back. But in terms of the medical, I'm interested to know kind of what that experience was like from memory, because I think when you think of a festival and you think of those medical tents, you do, there is the stereotype of there's someone in there because they've fallen and cracked their head, or they've broken a bone where they've been, throwing themselves around, or they've been doing something they shouldn't have been doing, or they've injured themselves on a piece of camping equipment, or something like that, or they've taken something, or they've drank too much. Their body now is saying, right, enough's enough. And then obviously, as you said, you go to the medical tent saying, oh my God, I'm going to die. And it's, well, no, you just can't hold your drink. And you're being violently sick because you can't hold your drink. And because you drank so much or whatever. So I'd be interested to know kind of what that experience you said was like, but it sounded, from what you were saying, as if they were very dismissive.
Yeah.
Do you think that was, kind of looking back, do you think that what was happening to you probably wasn't unique to things that they would see, and they were kind of desensitized to it?
I think I'd say so. I think so. I think what they'd used to be, or they'd be used to seeing, was people like paralytic, passing out, chundering, falling over, cut themselves. But because I turned up and I was like pretty
lucid,
conscious, and I was speaking pretty normally.
Yeah, you could string a sentence together.
Yeah, sort of.
Yes.
But my head was just spiraling, and my body felt like it was on fire. And then all these like visuals and auditory hallucinations. I can only explain it as a bit like a weird mini psychotic episode, like drug induced. Because I could hear like my dad screaming in my ear.
Oh wow!
Like you okay? You okay? Yeah.
Well, obviously wasn't there.
And he wasn't there. And then so when I left, I could still hear that.
Oh,
and then that led me to like believe and think that I'd actually died,
and
that I was still in the tent, unconscious.
So then my brain was almost an out of body type experience. Of, like I can carry on, but my body's somewhere over there because how can I still be hearing these things?
Yeah. So I had that for like more than a split second with the auditory, but actually I could see myself for a split second at one point above looking down, and then I thought that was me gone to wherever.
That's some strong weed.
Oh mate, it was
Jesus.
the weirdest experience ever.
But
and I can remember it so vividly.
It's mad. It's like you never think of that though. They're only, well, I'm not too sure, but they could only be trained medically for, like you said, paralytic people who's drunk or on drugs, or, like you said, fallen from a mosh pit or got trampled on. Some people could have their mental health breakdown in the middle of somebody singing a song, And are they trained for that? Are they trained for them two scenarios? And then if that, I don't know, it could be a 1 in 1,000 person chance in that over that weekend, somebody walks in with some suicidal thoughts or something like that. Are they trained for that? Or are they just going to go, you're pissed, fuck off, like sort of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of that second point is kind of like the treatment I got.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it was like 12 years ago, 11, 12 years ago. I now know, now there's a lot more awareness, isn't there? A lot more...
Yes.
I guess a lot more training on it. So
yeah, so
maybe that's true.
There's that. That's true. So what kind of, after that episode then, what got you thinking, I need to stop drinking and I need to sort of think about mental health? And what sort of triggered, obviously that triggered it, I would imagine. What was your next steps after that then?
Yeah, well, yeah, that essentially fucked me up mentally.
Yeah.
I thought literally would walk through my days sometimes, not thinking nothing was real, and thinking that I had actually died, and I was walking in some random land.
How long would you say that kind of specific way of being lasted for?
I'd say
after the fact.
Yeah, probably about 6 months at least.
Because that's a prolonged period.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a come down.
It was,
to use the lingo.
Yeah.
But no, it's all jokes aside, it's obviously it's kind of harrowing enough, I suppose, to all right, it's let's call a spade is what we do here.
Yeah.
With all due respect, it was self-inflicted.
Yeah.
No one made you do it. No one put a gun to your head and said, right, you got to do this, so you're not part of the gang. But I suppose there's a huge difference between kind of having that fright, that kind of initial few hours fright, till you then still feeling the effects of it, as you said, 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the road. So yeah, so obvious, as you said, it obviously flicked a switch somewhere, which I find really interesting.
Yeah,
it's awfully went through it, but I find it really interesting. In a kind of a dark way.
Yeah.
No, because it is, because you think, if you have if you drink too much, and I know lots of people who have like beer fear.
Yeah.
And like they have this real anxiety for like a day after. They'll go out on a Saturday and all day Sunday they'll be like a different person.
Yeah.
And they'll double and triple check. Well, how was I? Did I say? They'll go through the four, and it becomes obsessive.
Yeah, the anxiety.
But then when they have that kind of reassurance, so well, no, everything's all right. Nobody died. Everything was fine. You kind of, I think you get on with it maybe until the next time you drink.
Yeah.
Whereas from what you're describing, it you didn't have that reassurance, or even if you did, it wouldn't have been enough because you obviously survived the incident. It wasn't something that kind of put you in a hospital or killed you.
No.
But whereas for, I suppose, a majority of people, where it would be you, right, well, okay, I'm back in the game.
Yeah.
For you, it obviously, there was something else happened.
Yeah, it just, I guess it just triggered like extreme anxiety.
But then do you think a lot of that was because of the pre-existing levels of anxiety that you were trying to mask?
Yeah, I would say so. I'd say like it was there already, bubbling.
Yeah.
And I guess what can you call it? Like the pressure cooker.
Yeah.
was already building, if that makes sense. And then that threshold line, no matter what it might have been, this just sped it up.
Wow.
Like a lot.
Yeah.
And
that's quite frightening, isn't it, really?
It is.
Nobody you think about it like that.
It is.
Because it could happen. It could, and again, I know I say it was self-induced, right? Yeah, but that idea that you can kind of keep the lid on, and it'll only take one thing to blow the lid, and when the lid's off, it's very hard to put the stuff back in. So yeah,
you got to think at what point could it have gone? You could, I don't know, if you didn't drink and smoke and stuff. What point then would that your pressure go above that boiling point? Like?
Yeah, which is why I always say, like, I know you said it's frightening. I now looking back at it, I'm like, it was a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Weirdly, because it could have been bubbling up. I'm 30 now. I could still, be experiencing
absolutely
way more anxiety if I didn't have that point to deal with it. And so there's, sometimes like the worst or the darkest points of your life can be a blessing at the same time.
Well, yeah, of course.
If you learn from it, which I have a lot.
Yeah, I'm like I've always I'm a fan of like alternate history and alternative timelines.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that. Do you ever have those moments where you think, oh, what if I'd never gone to Boardmasters? What if? Or what if I'd gone and not decided, yeah, I'm going to have a smoke of that?
Yeah.
Do you ever wonder kind of how things would have panned out? Do you think that the end result would always be there would have been some kind of massive event that triggered you? Or do you think you would have maybe, as you just said, kind of still been
Yeah.
in this kind of internal battle of trying to keep things at bay?
Good question. I've not really thought about it because I've always just thought that that's happened for a reason.
Yeah.
And I'm here now doing what I do because of it.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I'd probably still be bubbling away, maybe.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. I don't know. Can't answer that fully. But I just always think that needed to happen. As shit as it was, and I never wish it upon anyone.
I do think of that everything happens for a reason sort of philosophy, and and that I think obviously, like you said, it's happened and it's done, and thankfully you're still here to talk about it, and you've got so much more out of it by the sounds of it, or by the looks of it anyway. So after that then, so you said obviously it's you got the anxiety part of it, you got the depersonalization, etc.
Yeah.
So coming out of that then, down that 6 months, you turn to sort of exercise, you dial it into mental health, the health part, and fitness basically, and that was that sort of purpose helped you keep it under wraps, sort of thing, was it?
I think so. It helped because I was starting uni like not long after the festival, so I went, but it wasn't good for me.
No.
Obviously, going to uni as a fresher. So I tried to do it and ended up, dropping out. A couple of months later.
Because it for a lot of people, kind of uni is basically Boardmasters spread out over 3 years. Or it has the potential. And was that ever part of it as well, where you were, where you were consciously aware of, or even kind of thing of, I remember how I felt in that tent, and there are going to be situations where if I put myself in them, I don't know if I'll feel like that again, if I'll be as lucky as another time, was that ever part of it?
A big part of it, because I was trying to, go out and make friends and
because that's why I was about to ask about friends. Is obviously after the Boardmasters incident, as if you can Wikipedia it, as if there's a blue link somewhere. But after what happened at the festival, how did that affect your relationship with those friends? Was it the fact that you were just like, listen, I can't do certain things anymore, or I can't be around you, or them not understanding? How did that go down?
Well, it was weird because after it, I was pretty upfront with everyone, and they were all new friends, meeting them at uni. But every time I'd try and go out and have a drink, the next day I'd be so anxious, like super health anxiety. I'd be so stressed that my skin would start going really dry. I'd be on Google looking at it. Honestly, I thought Dr. Google. Thought I had everything under the sun.
Yeah.
Sometimes I couldn't leave my room.
Oh wow.
So it was like bordering getting towards that agoraphobia and stuff like that. So I think my dad actually saved me there. He pulled me out of uni basically. Yeah. Because he felt that something was not right. So he got in touch with whoever it was. Yeah. The guys, running the course or whoever, and managed to pull me out. Deferred it for a year.
Was that done? Were those steps taken in conversation with you, or did he kind of do it in your own interest and then tell you, listen, just to let you know I pulled you out?
Both, a bit of both.
A bit of both.
Like I'd be speaking to him, and then he'd just go try and get in touch with whoever,
Okay.
without me like saying or asking. But he pretty much. I mean, he pretty much saved my life, to be fair.
Yeah.
So I was going downhill there, big time. And so I did sports science at uni.
Okay.
So I obviously dropped out, got myself slightly better, in a better spot. And that was another big thing, like to your point, George, with the exercise and fitness and purpose.
Yeah.
I was determined to go back to uni and finish it. To prove, to myself that I could do it. And that I could overcome the challenges that I had mentally with anxiety. And I think the catalyst, going back to the question you asked before, I think what point made me like make that switch to be like, right, I need to fucking sort this out. Was dropping out of uni. And then also feeling like I didn't want to be here anymore. Feeling like, what's the point? I need to just end it and take my life. And I was like, nah. It was like a fork in the roads in my own head.
Yeah.
And it was like, go that way.
And prove to yourself you can do it.
Yeah. Or
give up.
And I couldn't really tell you why I chose to just fucking prove to yourself and do it. But I did. So, I was determined to get back to uni. Just got like pretty, actually, at some points, maybe a bit obsessed with health and just being as healthy as I could be, physically, mentally. So I just dug, read a lot, did shitloads of, research, reading, looking at stuff, but then also trying the stuff out as well, like meditation, journaling.
All the stuff you're supposed to do in uni, like, reading and essays. And, unlike most of you, you're freeloaders. I went to uni and I was a tax dodger for 3 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's great. Like you said, that you kind of done it for many different reasons. One was that kind of that personal, I can do it. What I want to kind of dig a little deeper into before we get into Modern Man properly, is you talk about that anxiety that you had pre-board masters, pre-uni, pre-everything. I'm interested to know what that anxiety looked like as you were growing up, if you thought there were any root causes, if you were aware of it, if you were kind of consciously aware of it, or was it? I'm interested by that.
Yeah, I've thought about this quite a lot. Like I can have guesses, but I don't know for sure. I've journaled on it. I've had therapy and stuff, but I don't know for sure. I think we all have slight trait or can have the trait of being more susceptible to anxiety.
Yeah, I do.
So that to a degree, I think, because I can still get quite anxious now. I just know how to deal with it and recognise it and know what it is now. We all can get anxious, can't we? We're human beings, right?
Yeah.
But just generally a bit more susceptible to it.
Yeah.
I think most things stem from childhood, don't they? And
absolutely.
And patterns and things like that. I know when I was younger in school, I was a bit mischievous, so to speak. I remember one story actually. Fucking hell! It was like it was about.
Deep now. Come on.
I don't know. I'm going to say it anyway. It's in my head now.
I'm going to say we've gone too far now.
Like year 2. I don't know how old you are in year 2, 7, 8. And I used to just get my dick out on the playground and fling it about. And
there it is.
And
That's the real.
just do silly shit like that for a laugh, and
Do you know?
I'd be a bit like mischievous, but people would just label me as naughty, and I'd get sent to the headmaster's office a lot. So I got told off a lot. And so maybe that, because I got told off a lot, and almost like this label is a bit naughty. I remember one time my mum got called in to school, primary school, and obviously I had a talking to, like, about my behaviour, and I can't remember what he said, but he's like, is everything right at home, and all that kind of jazz. And then I remember walking home, and I'm getting goosebumps now just remembering it. Mum just burst out crying, and that's probably the first memory I have of her, like just being so upset. And I think maybe partly from there, because I then put it all on me. I'm like, when you're young, you're self-absorbed, aren't you? The world does revolve around you, or so you think.
Yeah.
So I put all of that on me.
Right, okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does.
Absolutely.
It does, 100%.
And so maybe that's where then the anxiety started to creep in a bit more. And I stopped being myself so much. I mean, like, I don't recommend getting your dick out and swinging it around on the playground when you're 7 years old. But I stopped being that, like, mischievous, cheeky, authentic version of myself.
Yeah.
A lot more. And I guess there was that, just holding it in, if that makes sense. Anxiety was building. And then potentially another aspect to it was Dad was in the RAF, military.
Okay.
So a lot of the time, maybe hypercritical, just because he wanted the best for us and wanted us to be the best, and potentially sometimes quite hypercritical, like, you're doing this wrong, do it this way all the time. Yeah. Whereas maybe
so they trained, you know.
Yeah.
I know it's not an excuse, but it's the training, isn't it? It's that excellence, because you are, and even at all branches of, and you find it more military, Air Force, Navy, and Army, more than the kind of emergency services, but you have that kind of, you are the best of the best. You are, you are the elite. You are the, and it is pummeled into you. Like, my younger brother has literally over the last few months joined the army. Yeah. And I all the power to him. I couldn't go there and be spoken to like shit by a bloke who I feel has got, obviously his own issues, screaming at me, and making sure, but then there's a discipline that goes with that, and there's a kind of a way to live your life. But I think sometimes it's difficult, or it must be difficult in situations then when those individuals then have families, because if you're just that way ingrained, it's difficult not then to push that onto family, as you said. And, I want you to be the best. I don't want you to be, a naughty child. I want you to do well. I want you to go to uni. I want you to have the best marks you can. And that's a lot of pressure. Yeah. That's a lot of pressure. And I say that, it was never forced on me verbally, but my mother was and is very well thought of in her job. She's nursed for 45 years. Yeah. She was very well respected. She's very successful in her field. But she was very academic. And I was always I was far more academic than I was manual. You're more likely to see me, have a paper cut than have a mark from lifting a brick and mortar or doing anything. And I own that. But I remember going to university, it felt like that's what I was going to do. There was never really, oh, well, do you want to go to uni? It was, oh, well, I'm going to have to.
Right, yeah.
She never once would have made me. And I don't but there was the thing of, well, I need to do well.
Yeah.
I need to kind of carry on this thing of doing well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see how the external factors can, because I nearly came out of uni around my second year. I had glandular fever, and it absolutely kicked my ass.
Yeah.
And they were seriously talking about me having to either drop or redo a year, and I can't. I said, if I got to drop out, I won't go back. But then if I got to redo a year, I won't. So I just said, just tell me the deadlines of the essays, and I'll get them all in.
Yeah, whilst having glandular fever.
But I done it, and don't get me wrong, it probably did affect bits, but I remembered in the back of my head thinking, I can't not finish this. I can't not have a degree at the end of this, because what will people say?
Right, yeah.
And truth is, they probably wouldn't have said, I would have been the talking point over a TV dinner, and then the next thing would have happened.
Yeah.
But I get that from my own experience. I can relate to if there's that expectation. So yeah, okay.
So there was that fork in the road when you said earlier.
Yeah.
You took the uni road. You then, was it 3 years? It was 3 years. It was in uni, was it?
3 years. Well, if you count the dropout year, 4.
4.
Well, 3.
3
Went
years.
back and did 3 in a row.
And then what was the outcome of that? Did you come out, pass your course?
Yeah.
With a...
Got a first in the end.
Nice.
Yeah.
Show off.
Yeah. Big show off.
And I guess, how did that make you feel then after them 3 years?
Oh, fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Because I went back. Started to slip a bit, actually, second year. End of first year again. Started gaming, getting addicted to it, drinking more. Then third year, I was like, right, you said you're going to fucking come and smash this. And so actually setting that intention, put the work in, put the effort in, and got the reward for it. Class feeling.
Nice.
But that's cool in its own way, isn't it? Because the amount of the amount of people say, I got to knuckle down. Oh, come on now, I got to knuckle down.
Yeah.
The lecture's on my case, and I got to. You going out for a couple of pints? I shouldn't really. Oh, come on, man, you do that tomorrow. All right then.
Yeah.
And it's so easy, and it's so easy because I think a lot of people, you have that FOMO now. It's like you do definitely have that fear of, if I don't go out every night, or what,
everything will happen.
Because there's nothing worse when you're younger than all the other lads are all having like an in-joke from when they were out, but you weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The FOMO, isn't it?
Yeah. Huge FOMO.
Out. Yeah.
So you started the bit. So when? So how long has Modern Man been running?
What a man. About 2-3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've been coaching similar kind of style for 5-6 years.
And was that something then, after the experiences and everything, that when you got out of uni, you were like, right, I know where I need to get to?
Well, actually, not fully. No, okay. I kind of lost myself a little bit again after uni, because I did it, I smashed it, I was super happy, proud of myself. And then me and Rach, my fiance, moved in with her nan and her family in Cross Hands.
Okay.
Not too far down the road.
No.
And going from uni to there, there's not many people, early 20s there.
No.
So it started to slip a bit again with my mental health, because I was isolated, pretty socially isolated. But it was actually there where I started gymming properly, and I say properly, started gymming more consistently again. And that kind of ignited that passion and that fire for fitness and exercise again.
Yeah.
And then we actually ended up moving back to Devon, where I'm from, for a while, until like a year and a bit ago. And it was back there where I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I almost went back to uni and did like a graduate entry medicine.
Oh, okay.
Because I knew, like, just from nerding out on health and everything, I was like, I want to do something to do with health.
Yeah.
I want to help people. I was like, do I want the stress of another 4 years of an intense course to then come out of that and be a junior doctor, have to work nights and a lot of tough hours, which probably wouldn't do my mental health any good. No. So decided against that. Worked in bars, pubs for a bit. Then I was like, right, I love fitness. Let's go down the gym route. So got a job in a gym, just on the front desk, doing, you know, memberships, cleaning machines, all that kind of jazz. And then slowly that's just kind of filtered out into starting to do a few classes. Got my PT qualification to go with a sports science degree. Got like a mental health and exercise qualification just to, you know, broaden my knowledge and use that plus the experience that I've had with having poor mental health, and over time decided to create the coaching program. At first it was called Vitalise Health and Fitness, which was basically everyone. If you want some coaching, I was here. Which kind of morphed over the years into the modern man, because I felt like I was connecting better, helping men who'd been through similar struggles as myself with their mental health, but also wanting to get in better physical shape.
Right.
To where I am now, to here.
So
I think that answers your question, sort of.
Yeah. As of now, which what are we now? 20th of March recorded. So how many people do you reckon that have gone through the program?
Through the modern man?
Yeah.
So I was looking at my form recently, about 70.
Wow. That's nice.
Well, that's nice numbers, because that's all, you know, because there's 70 individuals that you've had a positive
one-to-one as well.
Yeah, on their lives, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, and I suppose the feeling that everybody, and going back to that, because it's kind of hit a nerve with me, that fork in the road.
Yeah.
You know, that fork in the road is a 50-50 chance of you being alive or not, you know, and succeeding.
Yeah.
Yep.
I suppose you've been in there. You can dictate a person's journey, say, and help them see why they need to go down the left-hand route to succeed, and why the right-hand route to ending it all is the worst choice that anybody can have. And I suppose there's so many people have that.
Yeah, that fork.
That fork in their entire life. They could have it once, twice, 3 times, or that once is enough. Like, and I think having that ability to talk people out of that is incredible. And like Mark said, 70 people who have probably had that situation, and you've guided them. I think it's absolutely incredible, to be fair. And I wish there was more people that could do that, where people want to do it because they can see the numbers, creeping up and up and up, and having more people to do it, other than people like yourself who have had to go through it to do it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, I know what you mean.
But then them 70 people that you've gone through the course hopefully could do what you're doing. They've gone through it. I want to do this. That's 70 more people that's helping another 70 people, and so on, sort of thing.
Almost like that domino effect.
Yeah.
And it's an organic growth then, isn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. I think we can all do it to a degree.
Absolutely.
Just by chatting like this.
Yeah.
just by being there, by having that support network, which, unfortunately, a lot of guys don't feel like they have.
Mm.
So that's why sometimes they choose the other fork.
Yeah, and it's mad. And we say it all the time. It always takes people like yourself, people like we've had on previous guests, us doing the podcast, even though we say, only one person watches it, etc. So we're still doing it, don't we? We're still there. I
only joke. There's at least two. No, but I get what you mean. Yeah, that, and at the end of the day, it's to try and help, it's to try and influence, it's to try and be positive, and it is shit that.
What was the waiting time of the NHS?
It was something
36 weeks waiting list to see a mental health.
And that's and obviously I did that thing that I've tried to change Wales about my experience in GP surgeries, and it's not great, and it is shit that the most. I'll probably offend someone. It's that time. Where 9 times out of 10 the most effective people of influence in mental health are people who have lived experience. Because you understand it, but it's shit that you've had to go through it in the first place, and you probably haven't had the support you should have had or could have had. And it is something that we obviously want to change and make it make it just a normal thing, and destigmatize, because even though mental health is probably more widely spoken about now than probably it ever, even the last few years, like literally even since I'll use this podcast as an example. We started this in December 2023. We're now March 2025. Even in that time frame, the amount of people talking about it, the amount of people posting about it has increased dramatically from what it was before. But it's still, it is, and it sounds greedy of the mental health community, but it's like it can never be enough.
No,
because until those numbers come down, and we all know the numbers I'm referring to, until those numbers start dropping rapidly and meaningfully, it needs to keep being spoken about.
Absolutely.
We're under no illusion, anyone listening, anyone watching, we're under no illusion whatsoever. There will, but this is the real cold, hard, morbid fact of it, there will always be someone for which it's just too much. There will always be that. And that is just one of the heartbreaking realities. However, if we can do anything to at least try and bring that number down, or at least try and get to these people and help them before they get to that point, then that's, I think it's a social responsibility, to be honest, for everybody.
Exactly.
100%.
And it was this week, well, as of the today of recording, it's Red Nose Day tomorrow.
Is it?
I didn't know that.
No,
I must have go and buy one.
And I've been listening to the radio on Radio 1. One of the presenters is doing 4 ultra marathons. Well, ultra marathon each day for this week, which is unbelievable. And like the stories they've been talking about, and it's young mental health, and there's people living in cars, and there's people that deal with cancer at a young age.
That's crazy.
And it's just basically all they say is talk, and that's it. The smallest thing you can do is find someone you can trust and talk. That's it.
I think that's a big thing you just said there. Someone you can trust.
Well,
to open up and be vulnerable. Because that's a big thing, isn't it?
And I hope everybody's got somebody in their lives that they can trust, just to open up the floodgates to, whether it be in a pub, on the side of the street, anyway, and you could have a pint, you could have 3 pints, whatever makes you feel comfortable in speaking, and then somebody hears and sees a trigger point and going, hang on now, this is actually real, then hopefully that you've got somebody there who can guide you with a fork. And
but I'd go even further from that point, and I'd say, when it comes to trust, even if you're someone who's hurt or disaffected or disillusioned, and you feel like you can't trust someone, do yourself a favour and trust yourself.
Yeah.
Trust yourself that you know yourself, and you know when you're not doing well and you're not doing good. Trust yourself and have that conversation with yourself if you need to ground yourself, to rationalise, to logically think about things. If you need to journal, if you need to grab a piece of paper, if you need to get a phone and write all the feelings, and if you need to voice note yourself screaming into a phone, if that's what it needs to get it out, get it out. Absolutely. But trust yourself. Look at that.
Yeah. And I just want to say
that was powerful.
It was, and just want to say that
huge.
There is things out there, and I'm going to say we haven't actually got as a podcast, we haven't got a place you can go to see what they are. But BBC Action Line is something that's available to go on to, and it's got a little list of all different sort of mental health charities help that you can go and see if you haven't got a person to speak to. So, and then somebody is always at the end of the phone, whether it be a professional or non-professional. Somebody's there to talk to. So yeah. And
sometimes it's about just listening and, like I said, and rationalising, and sometimes it's about that.
Yeah.
And that brings me to one of your things that you want to do, which is that you want to talk. You want to do a public speaking event in front of at least 100 people.
Yeah.
Nice.
Have you done any public speaking before?
Yeah, small amounts.
Okay.
Yeah.
What numbers are you looking at?
Highest, I'd say 20 to 30.
Okay.
Which was a massive
accomplishment. It's a big thing.
Yeah.
It's a big thing.
Yeah.
And there are opportunities, and I will speak to you about those, because I probably can maybe help with some of that.
Okay.
Mark knows about 2,000 people, so it's fine.
but those are those, you know, they when you've got a captive audience, and again, not to plug, but it's about, if you just reach one person in that audience, job done.
Yeah.
Anyone else is a bonus.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's great, and I think that it's great, you know, because again, you want to share your experiences, because I said, as I said, it's about lived experiences, and it comes across, you know, it is raw, it is emotional. You know, I used to do anti-stigma talks for Time to Change Wales, and you know, you'd see people dropping off the call, and the instinct, oh my God, am I that boring, or are they not into? And then they'd message you privately and say it's just, you really touched a nerve.
Yeah.
In like a nice, but it's, you know, it's, I find it emotional, or you get praise or whatever. I got blindsided once because they told me it was on Teams, and obviously there isn't a limit on Teams. And I was expecting 30 or 40, and I had something like 115, 120 people, which were, I think, was the entire Swansea University Health Board, to be honest. And they were great. They were great, and they were so receptive. And I think that's the thing, is if you can get an audience and you can get them to listen, you'd be amazed what can happen. But you need to have that audience.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the cheat sheet for those who aren't watching. And if you're not, why aren't you watching? Get on YouTube.
Perhaps they're running, perhaps they're walking.
Right.
Come watch.
Use your mobile data. And one of them things, like that hang in front of you, like wear a helmet. Imagine that.
A head selfie stick.
Yeah, no Graham Hancocks.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is he the guy from Ancient Apocalypse?
Yeah, that guy.
That's the guy. I thought. Yeah, you've not seen it, have you?
No.
I haven't watched the second series, but Graham Hancock is he's a journalist.
Yeah, it's a funny story, isn't it?
He's a journalist who is hell bent one way or the other on trying to prove historians wrong.
Oh, okay.
And he thinks that there are lots of signs in the world that we've kind of forgotten a massive chunk of our history and prehistory or whatever. And they say, the earliest civilizations were like here, but instead you should have gone back another like 2,000 years or whatever. But he's got 2 series on Netflix called Ancient Apocalypse. And it was when you were doing it's when you said about the sites, and I thought, because it's I'll be honest, because when you watch him turn up, it does just look like he's in a field with just a few mountains, and he's going, I can feel the energy here, and you're like, right, like I can literally walk up to Morlas, up the old Morlas Castle, which is essentially a mountain, but it was a castle. But I find that interesting. So that's got nothing at all to do with anything. I wanted to make sure it was the Graham Hancock's that I thought it was. Yeah. I think he's quite good, and he's quite controversial.
Oh no.
Yeah.
He goes against all the, I guess, the mainstream. Geology, they call it. I think.
Doesn't care. He'd been on he'd been on BBC Breakfast. He'd been on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he'd flat out like call his story. And I was like, no, but then it's difficult to some of the stuff he comes out with. Like, well, that's actually that's a good point.
Yeah, it makes sense, a lot of it.
Yeah, like that first episode where it's that massive like mountain, and it's just a mountain, isn't it?
Yeah. The one in, I can't remember, Bali maybe.
Yeah, and there's like all the columnar rock.
Yeah.
And I was sat there thinking, what am I watching? Like, what am I watching this? But then I found myself like 5 episodes in, thinking like, oh my god, like we need to rewrite every history book.
Yeah.
We like a bit of self-care.
We do indeed.
I'm a big proponent of it. As Jordan said earlier, that's where I've been before I came. I went for a contrast therapy session. No, Jordan wasn't invited because I knew Jordan was busy. And I did know he was busy because you told me earlier.
I did, yes. No, I'm only joking.
And you also don't like the cold.
Well, no, I don't.
Don't like cold water.
No, it was nice today. It was nice and warm today. The sun was out.
I know that water really felt cold today because it was nice and warm. But we do like a bit of self-care. And your kind of self-care list, I think it's similar for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But do you have one that's kind of like, I don't want to say desert island. If you could only have one, what would you do?
Yeah.
What do you think, I suppose, is the most beneficial of your self-care routines? Not necessarily your favourite. Not necessarily, it may be your favourite, but the one that you think, do you know what, if I'm feeling a bit, I can do that, and I know, I have a fairly confident approach, I know I'll be all right.
Just before I answer that, I'll come for a cold dip next time.
Yeah, yeah.
If you get invited.
Oh, God.
If I get invited.
Put your handbag away.
I'm only joking.
I think
on the bottom of the screen will be a helpline for people who have been offended by this episode. Just my mobile.
I think it depends on, right, hear me out.
Right.
Hear me out. Depends on how I'm doing or feeling in that moment. If it's like lethargic, low energy, it's go out for a walk or train, move my body. If it's in my head, anxiety, brain fog, just can't think straight, like the thoughts are like a fucking tumble dryer. I don't know, that's the first thing that came to mind. It'd be writing, journaling, writing stuff down.
Right, okay.
So I think it's contextual a little bit. Yeah, I know that's not what you wanted to hear.
No, because there's
no right or wrong answer. That's just wrong.
Yeah.
If you basically, it sounds like you're basically doing the opposite of what you're feeling. So if you like, you slumped on the sofa, get up and walk.
Yeah.
Or if your mind is racing, concentrate on one thing and put it down on paper.
Yeah.
It's sort of, it's sort of I can't think of the word, but it's the opposite of what.
Contradictory.
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm here, folks.
But yeah, that's good.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's often contradictory to what you want to do.
Oh, you rubbed it in then. He said the word that you couldn't
And
think
you've
of.
got a...
Do you have any preferred, like walks? I know that sounds like a really lame question, right? But I moved recently, and I'm now by the Taff Trail again, and I forgot how much I enjoy walking on the Taff Trail, and how when I walk the dog, I kind of have preferred routes, and I do, and I went out the day before yesterday in the morning, and I hadn't walked on some of those kind of trails since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And there was one particular part, and it felt quite, well, I don't know if emotional is the right word, but it struck me a bit. So
reminiscence, isn't it?
It is, and it's nostalgia.
Nostalgia, that's the word.
I walked behind the football pitch in Abercanid, and there's a stream that runs directly behind the pitch. And I went under the trees, and they've put a wooden bridge there. And I couldn't walk over the bridge. Because when I was a kid, you had big stepping stones.
Right.
So you had to physically
jump.
And at nearly 36 years of age, I have no shame in saying that I jumped over the stepping stones. That's my workout for the week, by the way. But no, but I have like preferred routes that I go on. So I was just wondering if there's any like preferred like walks or places that you enjoy walking that you're like, oh, this is a safe space, or this is a feel good place.
Yeah. Just before I answer that, I think there's a lot to be said about being a kid again.
Yeah.
Jumping over the stones as opposed to taking the normal adult route.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be said about just being getting playful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, George.
So take the stones. Take the stones. I love the woods.
Okay.
I love walking through woods. I don't know why. It's nature, isn't it? It's just nice. I guess the green, the trees, the sun sometimes coming through the trees on a nice day. Just something that calms me a lot.
Yeah.
So that.
Nice.
Anywhere that has that. What comes to mind? There's a place back in Devon. What's it called? I think it's called Whistling Pound. It's a reservoir.
Right.
I love walking around a reservoir.
Yeah, it's nice. I think also closing a loop.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
As opposed to walking there and back.
Yeah.
Closing a loop's nice.
Yeah.
But I think, just a memory of walking through there, really sunny, with Rach, with my dog that's still in Devon, or the family's dog, on a nice day. And just feeling so calm.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be said about that for me.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that.
I got a question for you.
Oh. For me?
Yeah, for you.
Wow.
Do you think that you're feeling a bit like emotional or nostalgic then while you're walking? Was the last time you were living in Abercanid, somebody special was still you, but now she's not, and you're living there? Do you think that's a big part of it?
It's a huge part of it.
I bet.
It's a huge part of it, and to add context, my grandmother and I were exceptionally close. We were really close. She passed away in 2013, so 12 years ago, and I now own a house 3 doors down on the opposite side of the road. So every time I come out of my front door, I can look at the house, and every time I go onto the Taff Trail, if I'm walking, I have to walk past the house. And yeah, there was never an intention to move back to the village where I'm from. It was always, we always thought we'd live up in town and we just move around town. But I'm not complaining at all. No. You know, I'm very thankful for my wife for being willing to kind of go down into the village and move us there. But it's definitely, you know, because like I said to her when I came home from the walk, because I was a bit, but I don't know, it just really kind of hit, because I was walking along the trail between the river and the school. And I thought, you know, the last time I was here, I was still in primary school. And I had this memory of going down in torrential rain in the autumn, because we had an art thing to pick up leaves, different colour leaves. And my nan wanted to get, you know, the best leaves.
Yeah.
And we were absolutely fucking soaked through. Or walking up on the Taft Trail and you know where we'd go blackberry picking.
Yeah.
Which was code for Mark will go in the bush. So I would
get him in there.
Yeah, I cut the ribbons and she'd be there with like a little bowl or whatever. But yeah, most definitely the nostalgia's definitely it's definitely attributed to people. But yeah. And you mentioned as well having a good cup of coffee, and I'm a fan of coffee. I'm a fan of a hot drink.
Yeah, tea or coffee.
Tea. Any?
I
Preference?
like tea. I'm a big tea person.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm that guy. I'm a hot chocolate person.
Yeah, really.
I'm not even ashamed to say.
Great.
I haven't had a Horlicks for years, right? But that's my high. Oh.
I don't know. I have the Galaxy Dairy Milk,
Oh,
Costa.
Yeah.
I do like a mint hot chocolate as well.
Yes, that is very nice. But
Oh,
not
nice. Yeah. They've stopped doing them at Greg's now. That's a seasonal thing, I was told.
A winter
this morning.
thing, is it?
Apparently so. But I was also told once, this is true, this is a real tangent, I was told 6 years ago in Aldi's in Merthyr by a member of staff, who I don't know if they're still there or not, but I was told that they didn't have frozen onion rings because they were seasonal.
Right.
As if you grow onion rings, or as if you kind of only have them at certain times of year. And I was like, well, how do you explain that in like, you know, how do you explain that in like a 2-for-1?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Or a harvester?
Harvester. Sorry, it's summertime, no, British summertime.
Honest, and then I remember going in temper to Farm Foods and waving them in the middle of the look at them. I know they sell them. So yeah,
What, waving them to through the Aldi window.
yeah.
window.
Look at them. You know,
Flicking the V.
you know,
that love.
I know, and then when they did have them back, I don't want breaded ones.
No,
I want battered ones. Or I don't want them at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Back on the thing. The last
Well,
question.
we got a guest, don't we?
Yeah, we have actually.
Yeah, that is.
that?
Yeah.
We got a guest.
Yeah.
There he is.
I'm here. Hey.
The last kind of question we normally ask is the best bit of advice you've ever received. What is it, basically?
You're trying to think about what you wrote.
Partly. No, when I was... so I got some counselling and therapy. And I think this stems back to what I said earlier with Mum and owning like her emotion in that moment, which is quite powerful when I realised that.
Yeah.
He was... Because I... Massive tendency to people please, to, you know, not be myself to suit everyone else, right? And he said other people's emotions aren't yours to own.
Okay.
Take that.
Yeah.
I can.
Does that make sense?
It most definitely does. I can empathize, and I probably think you can.
Oh yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
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 Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can. Yeah, I thought it strikes a chord most definitely, because I've over time have done a lot of yes sir, no sir, free bags.
Yeah.
Sir.
Yeah.
Yes, I've done a lot of that.
Yeah.
Not so much now. Not so much anymore, but most definitely there was a big period of I better do that to keep the peace, at my own detriment.
Yeah.
And I think that's the importance, is it?
Yeah.
It isn't that you're doing it to spite the person.
No.
You're doing it, and you're the one that's ultimately gets affected
by
Yeah.
it,
and you take on someone else's hurt if they don't like the answer. So if I say, give me a lift up the road and you say no, well, I may not like it, but that isn't for you to worry about, that I don't like it.
No.
Yeah.
That's on me if I can't just get on with it.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the way I kind of think about that now is, like you said, if you're like the yes man or the nice guy all the time, then you can't actually be yourself for anyone else anyway. Because your energy's just so spread thin. You're operating at like a 2 out of 10 because you're so anxious about what other people think or what they feel all the time.
Yeah,
which
I got that. I always feel that.
Yeah.
What people think of me. It's like if I cut somebody up on the road. That stays with me for at least an hour.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of it and thinking of it and thinking of it. Oh, what if? And my fear, because I drive a lorry, my fear is the dash cam and the phones. If I cut somebody up and I'm put on Facebook, I'm like, oh shit, that kill me. It would literally just degrade, because I'm a in quote unquote professional driver, because I'm a HGV driver. Having that would just but no, and that's my fear, is what people think.
Yeah.
And like
I would agree with that. I think you do worry about the perception. I think we all do. To
a degree.
Everyone,
because
everyone has an inner ego.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. Everyone has an inner ego, and there is a part, but it's just how much you allow it to seep in. And I peak and trough. There's some days where I could not care what anybody thinks, in almost a selfish / arsehole type way. And no, I will hold my hands up. I will be completely honest and authentic. There are some days where I think, well, as long as it's selfish. As long as I'm right, I don't care. And if I offend you, then sorry, that's on you. There's other days with certain people where I really, really care, and I want it to be liked, or I want to have the approval. I think that's normal.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're human, aren't we? And we need that social connection.
100%.
And I think it's, if we can get a layer deeper and think about the intention behind it, if that makes sense. Behind saying like yes or no or whatever, or is it because we're scared to say no? For fear of disconnection from that person.
Exactly.
Or is it because you generally want to? If that makes sense.
Yeah, because you put you as well on what would you tell your younger self?
Yeah.
Other people are just human. You don't have to be scared of their opinion.
Yeah.
That's a good one, because you shouldn't have to. It's their opinion at the end of the day. And then I guess that would, if somebody said their opinion, now again, that would go back then and say, oh, okay. And then I would, or somebody then would have that for a good couple of days then. And that hits the nail on the head. Really.
Yeah. I think that is because it's been probably my biggest challenge.
Yeah.
And with the anxiety as well in the past.
Yeah.
Just constantly, trying to be perfect.
Yeah.
That perfectionism.
For everyone. Perfect for every single person's opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think potentially, circling back to earlier, potentially comes from that being critical, dad being critical, from a place of love and trying to make me my best. But almost.
Yeah, we're not knocking him.
No, good God, no.
It's like I said, I can see how that happens.
Yeah, absolutely,
most definitely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So just that's me.
That's you.
That's the awareness I have.
You. And
these days,
if people want to find more about you, where can they find you?
Probably in a coffee shop in Hardlines in Canton, or
nice. That's a nice coffee shop.
It's nice, yeah. So Instagram mainly.
Yeah.
What's my handle now? Can't remember. Ewan _ the modern man. Ewan spelled IWAN.
I'll put
The
it
Welsh way.
Yeah.
The proper way.
I always say this as well. I've got the most Welsh name for the most English sounding person.
I don't know. You put a half decent Valley's accent on.
Well, that's about it.
I
can say it right
quickly.
I can say it right, Beth, and that's about it.
Well, it was meant to be, wasn't it? Like,
Yeah.
Going back to the thing we said earlier, everything happens for a reason. You were called Ewan because you were going to live in Wales at some point in your life.
Exactly.
Sound. Well, it's been awesome chatting to you.
Yes, I agree.
You've done amazing. Coming out of what you were, and you are the sort of person to look at then if somebody's in that place, and to look at you and what you've achieved and what you're currently doing, and if that spurs somebody on, then they will be an absolutely amazing person. Yeah.
I just want to show people that you can go from pain to purpose and do some good shit with your life, no matter how you feel at one point in time.
But yeah, check Ewan out on his Instagram, and just give him all the love that he deserves, and give him a follow, give him a like. Anything else you need to add?
No. For those listening on audio, you won't be able to see that Ewan has decided to do the helicopter again, like he did when he was a child.
Yeah. It's like a little white slug.
And for those on YouTube, that has been edited out. I'll be honest. It went on a different way. I don't know what I thought was going to come. And that's the great thing about doing these podcasts, is someone will start talking, and you think, I kind of have a rough idea where they're going to go, and then every now and again, someone will come along and. I used to get my dick out and swing it round in the yard on my 2025 bingo card.
No, absolutely not.
No.
But
that's what this podcast is all about, I suppose.
Well, it's not about getting your dick out and swinging it around.
No.
And hey, if that's what you do for self-care, you do you.
Yeah, just do it on your own.
Yeah, do it on your own in the house, and so you're not done for public indecency or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, Ewan, thank you very much. Honestly, it's been a pleasure having you on, and keep doing what you got to, listening and watching and liking and subscribing. And
if you haven't, please do it. It does mean a lot, and it tries to get us further on to get into reach more people around the world, hopefully. But can I do this? You can indeed.
Because when I do this, I want on the YouTube, I want it to stop.
Okay.
Stop.
Okay. Right. We'll see you soon.